Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my February and March marked as to read video. For those of you who are new to the channel, my marked as to read videos are a series of videos where I basically just go through all of the books that I have been inspired to mark as to read on Goodreads over the past month or so, talk about what those books are, what they're about, and where I heard about them, why I'm excited about them, all of that type of thing. Now, because I was taking my little mini break in March, I didn't film this for February, but I actually only marked 6 books in February, and then I think I marked 12 books in March. I've got a total of 18 to talk to you guys about across the 2 months. Let's jump straight in and talk about all of the books. The first book I want to talk about is one that I heard about on a Goodreads blog post about anticipated historical fiction books, and that book is The Lost History of Dreams by Chris Walter. This one is basically a gothic mystery. Knowing that it was gothic mystery is basically all I really needed to know. But I believe it's about someone dies and they have to move their body into the chapel, but someone refuses to let them move the body into the chapel unless they unravel this like romantic mystery that's like in their family, something like that. I don't know, I'm a bit vague on the details, but like I said, a gothic mystery was enough for me. The next book that I heard about was actually one that I heard Emma from Drinking by My Shelf talk about. It's actually, sorry, I think the next two are both ones I heard about from Emma. The first one is The Last by Hannah Jameson, which is actually a book that Emma was talking about that she DNF'd, so she didn't like it, but I was really intrigued by the synopsis. So this is basically a dystopian thriller, and it's about, I think it's a man and he is staying at this hotel, and I think it's in Switzerland when basically the end of the world happens. There's some big nuclear fallout and he's now trapped in this hotel with I think 20 other people when one of them is murdered. People being trapped in a location together with murder is always one of my favorite things to read about, but then add on to that there's this dystopian thing going on with the world ending all at the same time adds another layer of kind of intrigue to it. Very interested in that. The other one that I heard Emma talk about is The Neighbor by Fiona Cummins. This is a thriller. It's basically about a family who move into a new house. And I'm not sure if it's the house or just the town itself that there's a murder has recently happened. There's a serial killer on the loose. Again, kind of vague on the details, but serial killers being on the loose with thrillery things going on, I'm always happy to read about. The next book that I heard about was from another Goodreads blog post. This was just one of their generic kind of posts that they do every so often about books hitting shelves that day. And the one I heard about there was The Care and Feeding of Ravenously Hungry Girls by Anissa Gray. This is a literary fiction, I believe, and it's about 3 adult women who are sisters. And I think their world is kind of thrown into turmoil when the oldest sister and her husband are arrested. I'm not sure what they're arrested for, but basically it throws their whole lives into turmoil, and I think it's looking at each of the sisters and their lives and their relationships all together, and I think also they each have children, or at least one of them does, and it's about each of their relationships with the children or nieces and all of that type of thing. So it's got some like mother-daughter relationship stuff in there, I think, as well. It just sounded very intriguing, so mark that one as to read. The next one is a book that I literally don't know anything about. I just saw the cover and the title on Twitter. That is The Babysitter's Coven by Kate Williams. Look at this cover and tell me that you don't think that this is a book that I would love. It gave me Babysitter's Club vibes, obviously, but like more, because it's YA, I believe. So it gave me like older Babysitter's Club vibes, but then obviously Coven, we've got some witchy stuff going in there. We've got witches who babysit. I don't even really know what it's about, but that cover, that title, 100% intrigued. And then so the final one that I marked as to read in February was one that I heard Catadactyl talk about on her channel, and it's called The Love of a Bad Man by Laura Elizabeth Woolett. And so this is a anthology of short stories. I think there's 12 short stories, and I think it's fictional, but it's based on real people, and it basically is like the imagined lives of the real women who were lovers, wives, and mistresses of the bad men of history. So I think we've got like someone who was in love with Hitler. I'm not sure if it's, I'm forgetting her name, Eva? you know who I'm talking about, the famous woman who was with, I'm not sure if it's about her, it probably is. I think we've got someone who was in love with or married to Charles Manson at one point, like those types of people. And I think it's like looking at their lives and what draws them to these men that are known to be bad men. So very intrigued by that synopsis as well. It just sounded really interesting and a little bit different from most of the stuff that I have been reading lately. Now moving on to the books that I marked as to read in March. The first two are ones that I heard Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing talk about on her channel. The first of those is Skin Deep by Liz Nugent. This one is a thriller novel, and this, when you read this synopsis, it's basically like talking about this con woman and that she's, you know, trying to con these people. I'm not exactly sure, but then the last part of the synopsis basically says that she returns to the house and the body is starting to decompose or whatever, and I was just like, say what? So very intrigued by that synopsis. The second one I heard Eva talking about was Can You Keep a Secret by Karen Perry. This is another thriller. This one is about two friends who were friends and then they stopped being friends, and I think the event where they stopped being friends was one of their brothers' like 18th birthday where one of their fathers died, and they're not friends anymore, and I think it's like 10 years later and the group of friends is kind of reuniting for some kind of event, and it's all going to kind of come up again, all of the details, I presume maybe trying to figure out what happened with the father's death. One of my favorite thriller tropes is groups of friends coming back together to try solve a mystery from the past. It's very tropey, but I friggin' love it. The next book I want to talk about is one that Michelle, who I've been doing some buddy reads with and talking to a lot lately, she was reading this thriller. I don't think she loved it. Like, I think she gave it like a 3.5 star. So like she enjoyed it but didn't love it. But the synopsis was very intriguing. And this is called Don't Wake Up by Liz Lawler. So it's another thriller. And this one is about, there's this woman and she wakes up and she's on an operating table with a man standing over her who I think she says she knows is not a doctor. And then I think she like falls back to sleep or whatever. And then when she wakes up again, she's completely fine and she's not on the operating table or whatever anymore. She's like back home or whatever. And no one will believe her about that she knows that she woke up at some point on this operating table. Very creepy synopsis, and so I was intrigued about that. The next two books that I have are ones that I heard about from over on Books and Lala's channel. She talked about these books and really, really loved both of them, and I'm always intrigued about books that Lala really likes. The first of those is Come Find Me by Megan Miranda. This is a YA mystery thriller. I don't really know anything about it. I know it's a bit science fiction-y in nature, I think, but like I said, Lala loved it, and I have read several other books by Megan Miranda and I quite enjoy her as an author, so I was intrigued by that one. And the second one that Lala talked about was The Beauty of the Moment by Tanaz Bathina, and this one is just a YA contemporary, and it's just basically about, I think, your typical kind of studious smart girl, but she's new to school, and I think it's about her romance with the like resident bad boy. So again, very tropey, but I'm into a bad boy romance, and the fact that Lala really loved it intrigued me, so I marked that one as to read. Next we have a book that I heard about over Trina from Between Chapters channel. She did a video recently about all of the series that she had finished, and she talked about this series and I'd never heard of it before, and it sounded kind of intriguing. So the first book is In the After by Demetria Lunetta, and it's basically a YA dystopian set in this world where the world has been taken over by these vicious creatures, and I think it's about her making it to this like safe haven place, and I think realizing that maybe this safe haven isn't all that it seems to be. I said, very intriguing. I'd never even heard of it before, and so I was intrigued about that one. Next we have The Wolves of Willoughby Chase by Joan Aiken. I heard Simon from Savage Reads talking about this on his channel, and he described it as basically like a children's classic. It's like a fantastical children's novel. I think it's got a female villain and an orphan school, but he described it as being like a children's classic, and I have never heard of this book. Literally never heard of it before, and so the fact that it was apparently a classic and I've never heard of it, was published in like the 60s. I don't know if maybe it was popular just in the UK and not outside of the UK. I don't know, but I was intrigued about it and thought it sounded like it might be a lot of fun, and so I marked that one as to read. The next book I want to talk about is one that Nicole from over at A Beautiful Chaos of Books marked. She gave 5 stars. It's a thriller novel that she gave 5 stars. Nicole reads a lot of thrillers, and so I was very intrigued about a 5-star thriller from her. This one's called Closer Than You Think by Darren O'Sullivan. It's a thriller novel, obviously. It's about a girl who has escaped from a serial killer, and he is known as the Blackout Killer. I think he like cuts power to the houses and then people turn up murdered. And it's about a girl who has escaped from him, and then after I think she escapes from him and is given all this attention in the media, it's the killings stop, and it's been like 10 years, and there is now have been a new killing in the vein of the Blackout Killer, and they think the Blackout Killer is back. So I'm very intrigued by that. And like I said, Nicole gave it 5 stars, so always intrigued. Next we have another book that I heard about from Emma over at Drinking by My Shelf that she talked about, and this one is The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. I am very intrigued by this synopsis. It's a YA contemporary, but it's about a boy who describes himself as being the king of almost. Like he almost got valedictorian, I think, or like he almost made the varsity football team and almost this and almost that. And then he thinks that he's finally breaking the curse because he meets this girl and they have this great, you know, night together or whatever, I don't know, and it seems like they're going to fall in love. However, then the girl passes away. However, when she dies, it sparks something and he ends up being taken back to the beginning, back to the night that they met. And I think it's about him like reliving their meeting and all of that, and then trying to figure out how to save her. I'm very Groundhog Day type tropes. I love Groundhog Day tropes. And I think it mentions in the synopsis something like one of like him changing events. You know, it's like that whole thing when you change something in the past, it can drastically change the future. And I think some of the decisions he makes maybe makes things even worse. I think maybe some other loved ones of his are affected. I don't really know, but it just sounded very intriguing. Like I said, I love a Groundhog Day trope. Next, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Obviously, I was going to mark this one as to read. I love Leigh Bardugo, and the cover and everything was released for this book, and I marked it as to read immediately. It's her adult debut. It's about a girl who, I think did I write it down? Yeah, she's the sole survivor of an unsolved multiple homicide. I love the sole survivor trope. And I think, so when she survives this like massacre or whatever, there's a mysterious benefactor who offers to send her to Yale University. So she goes, but I think it's on the condition that she tries to find out what's going on with this secret society. At Yale, I don't know too much about it apart from that. Like I said, it's got the final girls trope, it's got secret societies, it's Leigh Bardugo. I'm 100% interested in that book. Next we have Frozen Charlotte by Alex Bell. This is one that Mel was talking to me about, and she really enjoyed it. And it's just I think kind of like cheesy YA horror. I'm always into a bit of cheesy horror. I think it's basically about a house that was previously an like old like school for girls, and it's now being turned into a home. And a girl is going to visit her cousins, I think, who live there. One of the cousins is dead and had a room full of creepy antique dolls. I don't really know too much about it apart from that, kind of vague on the details, but it sounds like creepy, cheesy horror, which I'm into. And then the final book that I marked as to read in March was The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is one that I didn't mark as to read for any particular reason. It's just one that I've seen going around BookTube a lot, and I am interested in it. It's kind of contemporary in nature, but like fantastical. It's about a girl who is a bit of a Scrooge, and she is visited by the ghosts of Christmas, like past, present, and future, and whatever, and like try to inspire her to change her ways. However, she doesn't change her ways, and then she dies. And I think when she dies, she now, because she didn't change her ways, she has to become one of the new ghosts. So I'm not sure if she's like past, present, or future, but she becomes one of the ghosts who now has to guide other people through their like Scrooge experience. It sounds very cheesy, and like I don't know whether I would love it, but it gets very good reviews, and even if it's like, I can enjoy a good cheesy read, and like I said, it does get really, really good reviews for the most part, so I'm very intrigued by it. So those are all of the books that I marked as to read in February and March. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've heard of any of these books, or if you're interested in any of these books. Have I inspired you to mark them as to read, or if you've got any recommendations for me? I would love to chat about it. I will leave links down below to all of the books, plus all of the people that I talked about in this video where I heard about books. I'll leave links to all of their channels down below as well, so be sure to check them all out. But yeah, please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from this channel. But that is all I have for this video today. Bye guys!